Hey, what's up, good people? It's Jay Ray, the co host of Q Points, and I wanted to come to you because there are two really important ways that you can support our show. One is by subscribing to it wherever you listen to or watch your podcasts. Q Points is pretty much everywhere. The other thing that you can do is you can visit us on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, and on Podchaser, and you can leave us a star rating. Please rate us 5 stars because you know you love Q Points. And on Apple Podcasts and on Podchaser, you can actually leave us a written review. It's not required, but it really does help to spread the word about the show, and it helps people to discover it as they're looking for new podcasts to listen to. We're always appreciative of you supporting Q Points. We thank you so much for all that you've done for us so far, and enjoy the show.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Q Points, your favorite podcast. I am DJ Sir Daniel.
And my name is Jay Ray, also known by my government as Johnny Ray Cornegay III. What's happening, people?
You are now tuned into Q Points, dropping the needle on Black music history. Brother Jay Ray, how are you doing?
Sir Daniel, I am absolutely amazing. It is a beautiful Thursday. We get to have an amazing conversation here on Q Points. How you doing, brother?
I am fantastic, enjoying some of this bipolar weather that we're having. And, hey, we're full holiday swing right now.
Okay, can we talk about this weather really quick? So what y'all don't know is y'all might be like, Jay Ray live up in Pennsylvania. Why he got on like t-shirts all the time? We got forever, the heaters upstairs were always a little wonky. They never worked very well. Well, a week ago, we had the heaters fixed. It's hot now. And we got the radiators. You know the radiators. When you up north, you got a radiator in some houses. We have a radiator. This room is about 375 degrees.
Listen, I grew up north too, and those radiators were no joke. You can melt everything on them. Crayons, little toy soldiers, the works. So stay hydrated, J Ray, especially while we're doing this show, because the show's about to get extra hot too. You like how I did that? Listen, let's give a shout out to some people that are very special to us, and that's our Q Points insiders.
Absolutely.
Including Mr. Something Severe. Trey out there is one of the newest insiders and has become a max member of the Q Points Insider Club. So, Jay Ray, tell them how they can be insiders of Q Points.
So, all of you who are watching this, if y'all visit qpoints.com, you too can become an Insiders Max member. And as an Insiders Max member, you get access to everything. So that's not only our entire catalog of this show. You can listen to this show anywhere, but you can only watch the archives on our website. You get access to that. You get access to our other content. We have a show that we do called However Comma. You'll probably get a preview of what that's like in about 5 minutes on this show, and all types of other stuff. So you get a lot of goodies. So you do that, qpoints.com, just click the subscribe button. It's amazing. So
shout out to Mark McPherson. He gave us a however comma regarding, grandma space heaters are no joke either. Those are no joke. You got to be careful with that. But nothing beats. Have you ever slept with the oven open?
So I haven't slept with it open because but in an apartment, like the first thing I do in the morning, even to this day. So this is weird. So I do go downstairs when I'm making my coffee. I will open the oven door and I will turn on the oven because the kitchen is always a little cold. You know, it's got that tile floor or whatever. It's gonna take the chill off a little bit. The kitchen be chilly. So yeah, shout out to Mark. Thanks for joining us from Jackson, and shout out to Raphael as well in the chat for joining us too. But yes, so by the way, qpoints.com, hit subscribe. Also, y'all need to get some merch. We have holiday exclusive merch. So we have 2 record shopping bags because, you know, we're a music podcast. So
Absolutely.
when you go record shopping, you could take a Q Points bag with you. You could take Q Points with you record shopping. And we have a cool sweatshirt for our other Gen Xers that Gen Xers are really get into. So make sure y'all go over there. And until tomorrow, y'all can save 10% on whatever you buy. As long as you spend more than $20, you could save.
Get on that sale. Get
Mhm.
on that sale. Listen, you can wake up, you could put on your Q Points hoodie. See, because it's chilly right now, and you could be responsible and save the planet and save plastic bags. Don't even use plastic bags anymore. Get you a Q Points shopping bag, because that could be used for groceries. It could be used for buying records, whatever you want it to. And of course, stay up on all the stuff that we're doing. Like last night, we had the honor of being a part of Beta Gamma Chi's Code Red pre World AIDS Day party. I got to do a little mix, and you know, J Ray, of course, was in the background doing his thing, making sure that I looked and sounded right, and we had the best time. And see, you would have known about that if you were on the Q Points newsletter.
The
You would have
link
known
is
about
right
that
there in the
before
chat
that and after the fact. You would
and
have gotten a
after the
link.
fact.
You would have gotten a link to see the replay, and you can still do it. You just got to sign up for the Q Points newsletter.
Absolutely, absolutely, Sir Daniel. We had a good time last night. Thank you to the great siblings of Beta Gamma Chi fraternity for having you specifically come through, and then I was just happy that I got to tag along and, you know, make sure that everything sounded the way it needed to sound from the Q Point side. But good stuff. And of course, Beta Gamma Chi did that in honor of World AIDS Day. And today, like every December 1st, is World AIDS Day. And this is a day where we have the opportunity to unite in the fight against HIV. We have the opportunity to celebrate and honor the folks that we lost to HIV. And we also have the opportunity to support those folks who are living with HIV. And today is the day to do all of that. And that's one of the reasons why we are here. And we're going to have our topic happening later. But Sir Daniel, what's up this week?
Yes,
What's
sir.
up? What's up? There's a lot going on in the world.
So, you know, today was a busy day at work, but I just so happened to see a clip of, I believe, one of your favorite rappers. Although we think it's him because he was wearing a ski mask, of course, was featured on one of those white nationalist television shows, and he's special. That one, that something. He's going over the top. I don't know if he's trying out new material on us. He's about to go on. I don't know if he's about to start doing stand up. He's introduced a new character, who's, I guess, is supposed to be the new Spalding, like on Castaway. Netting. So yeah, what's up with your boy?
So at this point, all right. So here's what we need to say. What thou who shall not be named said today is utter foolishness. It is not only anti-Semitic, it just lacks empathy in so many ways, and is wrong and awful and way over the edge.
Over the top. Yeah.
I don't know that there's anything left that we can do.
Oh no.
So
that's between him and the creator. We don't have nothing else to do with that.
Yeah, nah, I'm putting him in. Oh man, so he goes in my R. Kelly pile.
That box in the island of misfit toys over there, like That's a Christmas reference. Only the Gen Xers will remember that. But he's an island of misfit toys, and you know what? It's okay. We can let him go.
We can
We
let
can
him
let him
go.
go.
We can let him
It's
go.
okay. That whole Sunday service, I guarantee you can go to any black church around the corner and hear even better singing than that.
Boom.
On Sunday. You don't have to keep fooling yourselves just because you didn't want to go to church. You don't have to keep fooling yourselves and saying that was just such genius work and it was so good. Yeah, whatever. But check this out. Oh, go ahead.
No, real quick, can we
Uh-huh.
also? I think we giving out the genius title way too easy in these days. Is that just me?
Let's dial that back. Let's just we're a little too generous with the genius word. So let's dial it back a notch. You know, we can admire stuff that people do, but I think we get a little too free-handed. It's like you're getting a little too, saucy with the spices and just like, oh yeah,
You added a little too much. It's got a little too much paprika in it.
Yeah, things are getting way too spicy for the pepper. So let's be easy on that. But I tell you what, I was thinking about maybe we should bring back Celebrity Deathmatch, and we can have He Who Shall Remain Nameless versus Herschel Walker.
What? You know what? I'm all for it.
Right now they're having a battle of the halfweights. Like they're having a really big battle of who could sound the illest on their public platforms, and it's getting kind of scary. I know I did my part yesterday. I got up at 7 a.m. even on my day off, and I got down to the poll and I made my vote count. So down here in Georgia, look, your boy is trying to make a difference, and I hope other people are doing the same thing.
Absolutely. I'm Celebrity Deathmatch was super fun. I need to go back to YouTube and go and revisit some celebrity death matches. Shout out to MTV in the 90s and the early 2000s when you had stuff like Celebrity Deathmatch.
Absolutely. Bring that back, please. Because even if it can't happen in real life, we could at least watch some people that we despise.
It'd be fun.
Just beat the dickens out of each other. It'd be fun. Now a lot of you may know that J. Ray is a part of the Divine Nine, right? And now somebody else was just added to the Divine Nine.
Absolutely. Fantasia is now a member of Sigma Gamma Rho, and that's really exciting. I'm excited for her.
She looked excited. She looked happy. She couldn't wait to get out there and stroll, and because they love. I would like to talk to our friends of the Divine Nine and find out how each generation picked their stroll songs, because that's definitely like a music conversation for me. I would love to know, because I mean the obvious one, of course, is Atomic Dog. That just makes sense. I can understand why that picked that one to stroll. But I would love to hear from the other ones how those particular songs got picked, especially the newer generations, because the song, especially the ladies, the songs are getting a little harder, and like the Deltas are strolling to Nuck If You Buck, and I'm just like, whoa, you kind of scared them. But I would love to know how they pick their songs.
I actually love that as a topic. Let's definitely talk about that for 2023. I think that would be dope. And we would probably determine that for each org, and many times this is regional too, right? So I think we would get a lot of really interesting reasons why these particular songs were selected. That'd be super dope. But shout out to Fantasia, who is not just not just an enormous talent, but she's my favorite American Idol winner.
Hands down.
She is just who she is. Every time you encounter her, if you've seen her live, if you've seen her on TV, you get the same Fantasia. And so I'm always happy to see her happy and winning, because she deserves it, and she's an enormous talent, and we have to protect Fantasia. So yeah, good stuff. Congrats, Fantasia.
Good stuff.
Welcome to the Divine Nine.
And I've noticed like the Rose have really been getting their hands on some heavy hitters in the music field.
I wonder if MC Light has something to do with that. You know, MC Light
It's like
probably reaching in the Rolodex.
reaching in and pulling the girls into the sisterhood. You never know. That's but they've gotten some heavy hitters. The ladies are
Yeah.
really doing their thing. And and those are the types of things that you do as a musician. You do
Yes.
some things that are fun. You can join organizations that are about positivity, unity. You can use your platform and your voice to speak to things that are going on in the community, like those who lent their voices to the AIDS HIV epidemic.
Mm-hmm.
And like we mentioned, the mix that I did last night on last night's show, I specifically picked those songs because at the height of the epidemic, hip hop really had taken a front seat and was like
Mm-hmm.
surprisingly was driving the boat. Like we are definitely putting out a lot of messages because I think early on the hip hop community realized that the epidemic was like seriously hitting home, close to home.
Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. So, early on in the epidemic, and we include this if you join the newsletter, you can get this. Early on, Black artists figured out one that the information that wasn't coming into the community, right? Individuals weren't getting the information. Not only weren't they getting the information about HIV at the time, there was no money to get the information out, right? So we did what we always do as Black folks. We used our platforms to share information. One of the pieces that we put in our supplemental materials for last night included a hip hop song from 1985. Was a regional song done here in Philadelphia, and that was really early, right? But it was done because the Philadelphia community was really interested in talking to Black folks, in particular Black men, about HIV. So we're going to have some pretty dope conversation. We have an amazing guest who y'all are going to meet on the other side of this break. But we are going to jump into our World AIDS Day conversation, starting with a discussion with Stephen Hicks, and then we're going to jump into some music. So we will be back in about a minute, y'all. See you in a sec. All right. So Stephen, you are up. We're gonna come on, read your bio, and then bring you in. I'm gonna do my CNP thing, and then we'll bring you in. No, you can stay on. You can stay. You can stay unmuted. You're good. And we coming back. So check it, y'all. Check it. Welcome back to Q Points, the podcast that drops the needle on Black music history. And today is World AIDS Day. It's December 1st. Every year is World AIDS Day. And this is our opportunity to one, honor those folks that we lost to HIV, to honor those folks, as well as unite in the fight to eliminate HIV, as well as make sure that, we support those folks who are living with HIV. So this is a super important day. And we have an amazing guest coming up. So I'm going to make a disclaimer.
Mm-hmm.
So for those of you that don't know, I am creative director for an amazing organization called CNP. known as the Counter Narrative Project. Right. I know it's a surprise. So I'm creative director for CNP, and our mission is to shift narratives about Black, gay, and queer men to change policies and improve lives. And I'm very proud of the work that we do every day. And the next guest that we're bringing up was our CNP Narrative Justice Fellow. Stephen Hicks is not just a journalist, writer, filmmaker, public health advocate, and was the 2021 and 2022 Narrative Justice Fellow at CNP and is based in Washington, D.C. The other thing you need to know about Stephen Hicks is Stephen love him some music. Okay. So it's all of that wrapped into this package. So not only is he an incredible advocate, he is also a person who knows a lot of stuff about music. So we are super excited, folks, to welcome Stephen Hicks to
Yes. Welcome to the show, Stephen.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I'm pretty certain it's been a pretty busy day, being that it's World AIDS Day, and we thank you for taking time out of your schedule. I know you've been ripping and running, but J. Ray ran down the list, your resume, and it's super heavy, and you do a number of things, but definitely one of them is journalism. So talk to us about your work as a narrative justice fellow for CNP, as well as why it's important to tell stories about Black folks living with HIV.
Okay. Well, thank you first. Thank you for having me. I want to give a shout out to Uncle Frank. He passed of AIDS complications back in the early mid '90s. I want to lift him up, especially today. I think when it comes to being a narrative justice fellow, um, it was an honor. I was flattered that I was even invited to even be involved. And if you know about the background of that, I was like, nah, give it to someone else. Give it to someone else. But for me, my background is in journalism, doing hard news journalism in Washington, D.C., as well as in Richmond, Virginia. And it gave me an opportunity as a narrative justice fellow to really dive deep into HIV criminalization and thinking about the stigma and thinking about the structural barriers that are up against people and are obstacles for this health condition that has been stigmatized, weaponized, and criminalized. And so I had a chance to really dive deep and talk to advocates, talk to organizations, individuals, people living with HIV all across the US about HIV criminalization and thinking about what that means for their lives and the impact that it has on themselves as well as their communities.
Yeah. And I think that kind of, you answered like the importance of why CNP is doing what they're doing, but you touched on something, and I don't want to go past it, but you were talking about, no, give it to somebody else. You kind of felt like I'm not deserving. And I think we should go on to say, like, you are a cisgender heterosexual male, working in this field and working in and telling stories about the Black queer community a lot. And so how has that been for you, working, dealing with that, with those intersections of your identity and who you are, and then coming here and then I guess I'm assuming developing the sensitivity for this community as well, and then telling those stories?
I think at the end of the day, for me, I'm Black, and that solidarity with Black folks is always being challenged when I want to dive deep and plant my seeds and be 10 toes down in my straightness. It's like, wait, we got to be more inclusive. We got to bring all Black folks into this conversation. And so when it came to this opportunity, I was like, wait, this is an opportunity where, yes, there's going to be a stipend. And yes, there's going to be a national platform for me to get these words and these stories out. I have some opportunities elsewhere. I want to make sure that we redistribute the opportunities and the wealth to other folks as well. And then, especially for folks who have lived experience with HIV, have lived experience with HIV criminalization, people who are deeper in the South and what we call the red states, being able to really be able to have that opportunity. And then my good friend Daniel Driffin was like, hey, go ahead and do it. You know what I'm saying? So stepping into those in that place to do the work, but then also remembering what I said, pass it on to someone else. So I said I had to do a great job, set the foundation, now let other people catapult and take it to the next level, but I got to do something. And then just having the opportunity allows me to take all the skills that I have and the levels of exposure that I previously had when it comes to writing and journalism, because I am still a real life journalist. You know, there's an ethical type of approach. There's a writing approach. There's a reporting approach. There's an interviewing approach. And so incorporating all of those facets into doing something for CMP, I have a lot of respect for CMP, a lot of admiration for CMP, because CMP is not waiting for some external force from on high. They are creating the infrastructure. They're building the infrastructure, building the platform to tell the stories of Black queer men, Black gay men, Black same gender loving men, that becomes more expansive in our definitions of Blackness. And I'm just lucky to be a part of it. So being that cis, straight guy, Black man, is really just like, well, if my heroes like Huey P. Newton are saying that we got to expand our definitions of Blackness, then I'm like, all right, so Huey P. Newton's down. All right, we're going to do this. And then the deeper that I've gone into this work, I realized the intersections of just like when you think about music and culture, it wasn't like Black queer folks weren't a part of that. When I think about my favorite albums, it might have the most aggressive, angry, whatever person on the cover, but their producer may have been someone who was queer or same gender loving. And you see the intersections and the silos just kind of break down. And it's like, nah, we doing this. We are cultural movement makers doing this and bringing our whole selves to the work.
So thank you for, I'm putting on my CMP hat for a quick second on Q Points. Thank you for bringing your full self to the work that we do as CMP, and you encapsulated the truth of who we are so well. And it really is the most, what is the quote that Charles said many years ago, and he called it unlimited Blackness is the term he used to describe it. And we're always striving, right, for this most expansive and most free version of who we can be as Black people. So thank you for that. I'm curious, how did you come into your work around HIV activism? How did that come about for you?
It was a story of twists and turns. I would say first in 1996 when Red Hot put out the album America's Dying Slowly, I didn't think of it as an album. I just saw that 8Ball and MJG had a music video. I saw that Wu-Tang had a song. I saw that Common had a song, OC had a song, Organized Confusion, Goody Mob had a song. I didn't really piece it together, but there was something called America's Dying Slowly. And as you get a little older, a tad bit older in your teenage years, you get some disposable income and you find yourself in a CD store getting the CD. Or maybe I stole it from an older cousin. but I'm listening to these. But I'm listening to these songs, and these songs are resonating. They have a message. However, this is 96, so I'm 11 years old, and I'm not sexually active. But I know from TLC what a condom is, and I know from MTV and HBO, Sex in the 90s, and all of these other facets. And then also The Real World with Pedro. So you're learning all these different, and also Magic Johnson. So you're picking up things from pop culture, And then you fast forward, I'm in college. I have some professors who are doing HIV research. And then after that, well, shout out to Dr. Christopher Brooks at VCU. I think he was the first person to kind of include me, and he was doing narratives on Black men living with HIV in the US as well as in South Africa. He brought me on as an independent study to just kind of read and give critical feedback. Then I decided to go to grad school. I was like, do I want an MBA or do I want an MPH? And I decided to go with the MPH. And then taking an HIV course, I was like, well, in order to prepare for this HIV course, let me do an internship for the local ASO in my hometown of Fredericksburg, Virginia. Shout outs to FAHAS, the Fredericksburg Area HIV/AIDS Support Services. So they brought me on, and I was like, okay, we're probably way advanced in this HIV thing. But maybe the second week on the job, I'm with a medical case manager, and they're explaining to a landlord that a tenant should rent out the apartment to one of their patients, and they don't have to worry because the patient won't leave HIV in the carpet when they move.
Wow.
And so you realize like just an hour south of Washington, D.C., in this progressive hub, more work needs to be done. Now, as you're seeing patients come in who are seeing case managers, they are living with HIV. You see people coming to me who are getting tested for HIV. It's a lot of Black people. There's a lot of Black people from my hometown. So it's like, wait, there are very few like degrees of separation here. This is like first cousins, next door neighbors type of proximity. So from there, I said, you know what? Let me be a little bit more serious and deliberate about this. And as I was doing that, I would dive deeper and I would ask, some of my relatives questions. So I would talk to Uncle Edward, rest in peace. Uncle Edward would tell me about how he grew up in Baltimore, then moved to Augusta, and how he lived to be 76. But all of his friends had died in the 80s and 90s. And so for the last 30 years, he was meeting new friends. So how do you like kind of navigate that space? And so just thinking about the people who were in close proximity, the people who raised me, the people who loved me. And then it was just like, well, you got to continue to do it. You got to continue to do it. Along the way, getting mentors like Dr. Marsha Martin. She didn't play any games. Kenyon Farrow, he doesn't play any games. And so having folks who are Black, who are deeply rooted in their Blackness, telling me that the narrative that you've been given and spoon-fed about HIV can't be the only narrative. You have to look closer. You have to look at the family structure, your family structure, look at your community. And when you do, you look around and you see Black folks, and you see Black folks living, thriving, but also being resistant to some of the narratives that will marginalize folks. And HIV is a part of that. So my social justice background, my love for the Black Panther Party for self-defense, Black Liberation Army, Malcolm X, also in hip hop also informs my HIV advocacy, because it's about raising hell to bring some heaven to the folks who are the most marginalized.
Wow, it's just listening to your story, your evolution includes a lot of developing a lot of empathy, right? And developing empathy and caring and love for everybody, or solidifying your love for everybody in the community. And like you said, we're still students of hip hop. We love the music, we love the culture, right? And so then there's this, I've always found it interesting when we encounter unicorns such as yourself, Stephen, in this work, in this line of work that you do as a cisgender heterosexual man. It's like, how do you reckon with the love that we have for this music and this culture, and hearing some of the stuff that a lot of people are saying, and a lot of the homophobia, the transphobia. It's like, what did that do to impact how you heard and how you processed the music and the culture of hip hop? Like your work, and then you start that wasn't cool. To say that's not how you address people, that's not cool, because I know these people are real to me now. It's not because to everybody else these people are abstract, but you deal with people face to face, and so you develop that empathy. So what did that do for you as you process hip hop and you listen to music and take part of the culture?
Well, I would say this is a number of years ago, probably 10 years ago, 11 years ago. I was sitting in a training, and one of the facilitators of the training was a Black trans woman. And I remember raising my hand and apologizing. I was like, I might ask some wrong questions, but I've experienced 26 years of hip hop that's informed my thinking. Now, hip hop has given me a lot of great stuff that I can't dismiss or diminish. And with that good also comes some of the bad, right? Some of the negative and some of the areas for growth.
Right.
And so when I'm listening to songs, especially from the 90s, I'm a big fan of like MOP and Mob Deep, right? And they'll throw out something you're like, I'm not gonna play that in mixed company. I'm gonna keep that for the workout. I'm gonna keep that for the gym. But what I try to do, speaking of the empathy, is I try to say, wait, these guys were 20 something years old producing this music from a particular environment and from a particular life experience. I hope now, in their late 40s, early 50s, some evolution has happened and some more empathy has come into their picture. So now the expectation of Mobb Deep and MOP when they put out their new albums, I'm hoping that it's going to be a little bit more advanced than where they were when they were 19, 20. But I still appreciate the art that they made and recognizing that, okay, 20 something years maybe have made a difference. Also, I think that just with growth and exposure, I think people have traveled the world. They've seen things. They have been in meetings with people. They recognize the importance of endorsements. And so I think there's this changing of the thinking of like, okay, my discomfort doesn't have to be bigotry. It could be a discomfort until there's a close proximity to ask those questions. Because for me, I was gifted that chance to ask those questions back when I was starting in HIV. We called them the gay question of the day. And so I was like, what's the top? What's the bottom? And I had people who would be very patient and say, Stephen, this is what the top is. This is what the bottom is. And so having that exposure, and then speaking of, you might know my friend Ox or Oxygen, John Everett. He was talking to me about how in the 80s when he was in New York, they go and see, go to house parties or like house shows or clubs that would play house music.
Yep.
And I was like, you were going there? And he was like, it didn't matter. Gay, straight, it was good music. And then that taps into my foundation because I'm like, Ox is like my OG. That's my dude. That's like a big brother to me. So if he's telling me about his experience, I gotta ask myself, why am I so hardened to my experience? So.
Man, shout out to Oxygen. That's my brother too. That's my Wax Fundamentals brother. Yeah, that's definitely my peoples as well.
I love that. Okay, so Stephen, you, to that point, staying along this line, right? You have absolutely been a person unafraid to use your voice. And I remember reading this post around Roe versus Wade. So this is back in April. And I want to read a piece of this. And I have a question for you after. So you write here, I'm a straight heterosexual man who has benefited from women in his life having reproductive rights and the choice to have an abortion. I went half on paying for an abortion once. I could go raw because the women I'd been involved with had access to HIV STI testing, the pill, IUDs, ovulation apps, as well as primary care physicians and OBGYNs. Those women didn't have those women didn't have access to these tools based on some benevolent, invisible hand. People fought hard and even to the death to afford all of those rights. As a man, I benefit, but I don't sacrifice. My question for you is
Bars. First of all,
there's a lot of courage in that. Where have you always been this person? Like, were you always the dude to speak truth to power? Where did that come from for you?
I would say it's a through line for me. My aunt Tony, she will often say, "You said this when you were 7 years old. You were a very militant 7-year-old." Me and my kente cloth hat. But I think that for me, the people who are silent in public spaces are not silent all the time. So I find that it's like conversations that are happening behind closed doors, but they're happening nonetheless. And I say, if I believe in something and I've done my due diligence, I have the evidence, right? I've thought about it and I had a critical self-reflection. Let me normalize saying this because I don't think it's going to hurt and harm people. And then doing that little by little, I think more people can like stand up straight and not to be ableist, but they can feel like, wait, I got somebody who agrees with me, you know, right? And so for me, I feel like I'm doing a disservice and an injustice to the people who have taken the time and invested in me, poured into me, to be cowardly and not say what needs to be said. Now, the Black women who raised me, not only the Black women, but the Black women who raised me, who have nurtured me, who have been mentors, who have paid for the mortgage to house me, paid for the food, who have fed me, changed my diapers, they should live with dignity and respect. And that also means reproductive justice and reproductive rights. And so for me, like I said, this is my story. And as a volunteer in DC, I'm a clinic escort. So essentially, I'm like a nonviolent nightclub bouncer for a medical center.
There was a name that someone gave you that was the funniest thing. Oh, it involved Debo. I can't remember what it was. Do you remember what it was? Somebody gave you a name. Steven had a name. It was great. I want to find it.
But there's definitely a privilege. You could benefit from the privilege of sitting in a barbershop. You can either be quiet, like you said, you could either be quiet in the barbershop or you could speak out against it, against the things that are being said in those spaces. You know the things that are said in those spaces. We've all sat and heard them. We either sat quietly and cringed, or someone like a Stephen Hicks might say something against it or speak up. But what can Black men be doing right now in the fight for both reproductive justice and HIV decriminalization from your perspective?
I would say start with I think it starts with the self. I think it starts with that critical self-reflection. Think about your own life experiences. I mean, by the time you're 30, 35 years old, I feel like most people had a few scares along the way. You had to like flip a coin and make some decisions. So go back to where you were then. Think about the resources you had available. Think about the social support you had available then when you were making certain decisions. Think about now later in life. Maybe you have a stronger support system. Maybe you have more resources. Would you make the same decision? Think about people who are more marginalized. I think when it comes down to it, asking the people around you, You know, like maybe this particular subject doesn't impact you directly as far as your own body, but everything is everything. So it's still impacting you and going to be a part of your life. So being able to ask people like, hey, like, what can I do to support? Um, I think it's important that you get tested. Everyone should get tested if you don't know your status, right? So get tested, and then maybe that might be an opportunity to ask some questions about what's happening locally. If you wait for pop culture, uh, who knows? But if you take, for instance, the baby, when the baby made his statements at Rolling Loud, maybe that's a moment to think about your own experience. Maybe if you go back, you might have some relatives who have been touched and impacted by HIV directly. So being able to parse out some of the talking points that we are given and think a little deeper, because it's not about the quote unquote LGBTQ community that has to have an adversarial relationship or dynamic with Black folks. It's like you got Black folks who are LGBTQ, right? And so making sure that we are supporting folks while we're also holding people accountable, including ourselves, and asking ourselves, what can we do to support folks? And so when it comes down to it, it might be who you vote for, it might be where are you tithing, or where are you donating money to?
You better preach on this here
Listen,
Thursday, Stephen Hicks, on this Thursday evening. So before we move on to our other topic of the night, we would be remiss if we didn't talk to you about Granddaddy's role. So you made a documentary about your grandfather. It is absolutely gorgeous. So for those of you that sign up for the newsletter, link is in the chat. You will get the information about Granddaddy's roles. Um, Real quick before I ask the question, shout out to Raphael, who's also in the chat. I also want to give a shout out to Corey Boone, who said specifically, I'm going to go back. I am forever grateful to know and see the amazing contributions of Stephen Hicks. Thank you, for Stephen, for all you do. So I wanted to make sure I said that on air.
Shouts to Corey.
My question, tell us about Granddaddy's roles. How did Granddaddy's roles come to be?
Thank you. It's a very special project. Granddaddy's roles. My grandfather, my mother's father, is like my best friend. He's 88 years old, and he's always worked with his hands. He went to the Korean War. He's the son of sharecroppers. He worked for the Virginia Department of Transportation. So he helped build the highways. He's a farmer. So everything that he's done has gone through his hands, whether he was spanking a child or burping a child or whether he was driving a tractor or planting seeds or picking beans or whatever in the garden. Everything came through his hands. And now at 88, and at the time he was 86, arthritis and carpal tunnel. And you think about all that history that's in his hands. And it started off with me actually just being envious of a lot of my white friends and their grandparents because they're taking vacations. They are at the country club. And my grandfather is dealing with chronic health issues from being a part of that generation that built the country physically. And so I said, okay, what can I do about telling a story about my grandfather and his hands? And I thought about the most gentle moment of his life when it comes to his hands and his work is when he's baking. He's very diligent and he's a conduit to provide a service for other people to put something in their belly. And so I said, let me tell the story of Granddaddy's rolls. I'm kind of pitching it to my family. They're like, whatever, who knows about that? Who cares about that? And then it's done, and then they're crying, shedding tears, and like, wow, you really caught Granddaddy at his most gentle, softest point. And so even to this day, my grandfather will watch it maybe at least once a week, and it came out like last year. And I have some more films on the way. This is that Granddaddy's Rolls is in fact my second documentary. Um, I did one on his parents called Jake and Them, where I tell the story of the Great Migration and of a family that went from North Carolina to Baltimore. But yeah, I'm all about telling our stories, not waiting for other people to tell our stories. And I feel like CMP does that. I feel like Q Points does that. So I just want to be a part of that movement of people telling our stories without other people, having too much of a hand in telling our stories. And that doesn't have to be like some conspiratorial them in their hands. I'm talking about this is your family. Take ownership and tell the story of your parents, your grandparents, and your children and whomever.
I love that. Well, I know what I'm watching this weekend because I love documentaries. I absolutely love documentaries, and that sounds super heartwarming. And yeah, you and I, Steven, we gotta talk because Jerry knows I got some ideas. But anyway, we're gonna talk. We'll talk after this.
Okay.
But we are coming up onto our break, J. Ray. When we come back, we are going to talk about the music of the HIV movement. So if you are joining us, you are listening to Q Points, dropping the needle on Black music history. This is our World AIDS Day episode, and we are joined by Stephen Hicks, and we will return after this break.
Hey, what's happening? This is JB of JB's Record Lounge, and I want to give a quick shout out to Q Points, keeping our history and current events alive in Black music. Shout out to Sir Daniel and J. Ray for making all of this possible. Come visit us at JB's Record Lounge, 898 Oak Street, Suite F, Atlanta, GA, anytime. We're open Wednesday through Sunday, noon to 6. Come see us for your vinyl fix.
So off air, we were just having a conversation. Stephen was like, "Oh, that's JB. I think I know JB."
Yep. See, the circle is very small because he knows Ox. Me and Ox are part of Wax Fundamentals. We do a lot of spinning at JB's Record Lounge. So Stephen Hicks is definitely part of the musical family. He's definitely part of the Q Points family. And like we said at the top, Stephen Hicks is a journalist. He is a filmmaker and a public health advocate. And today, this is our World AIDS Day conversation. And we are going to discuss songs of the movement and just bring some history into the songs about that are part of what we're talking about. Last night, I got to play this upbeat, this up-tempo version of That's What Friends Are For. Which came out in 86?
85.
85.
It was the biggest song of 86, though.
So it came out in 85, featuring mine and J. Ray's favorite, Dionne Warwick, the Empress of R&B.
It was Dionne and Friends, to be very specific. Dionne was top billing, kids. Don't forget it. It was Dionne and Friends. Forget it.
Gladys Knight, Stevie Wonder, and Elton John, who held his own with all them black people, all the black people singing that song. But let's share our thoughts around like that song. Steven, that might be a little bit before your time. You probably don't even remember that song?
I don't remember when it was like, when it first came out because I was born in 85, but I'm very familiar with the song. It was like Video Soul and Donnie Simpson.
Yes. This particular song really kind of ushered in, I wrote about this actually today. We'll make sure that we include that if you join the newsletter. I wrote about the 4 songs by Black women that inspired my HIV activism. And my introduction point was That's What Friends Are For. And just reading kind of the interesting backstory of course, Rod Stewart doing the original version of that song. Dionne Warwick and Burt Bacharach hadn't worked together in like a decade. But Elizabeth Taylor thought that this song would be a really good benefit song because AmFAR needed to get up and running. And Dionne Warwick is going to do the song. And so apparently Dionne was just kind of inviting her friends to kind of come to the studio and sing. There's this story of, I think, her seeing Elton John in like the market in like Beverly Hills and was like, I'm recording tomorrow. You should come to the studio. We're doing a song.
Random.
And Elton obviously showed up along with Gladys Knight and Stevie Wonder. But this song is special for many reasons, but for me it's special because it never ceases to not feel good. I perform this song at the end of every time I do karaoke with friends. This is my closing song. Like every time I'm doing it.
And it brings down the house.
It brings down the house because, you know, I'm going to do all the parts, right? I do invite other people if they want to come, but if they don't want to come, that's fine. But it is one of those songs, like I said, that never ceases to feel good. And it also, for me, is a song that taught me that, music can like help with public good. Like it can literally do something. Even though this song didn't say HIV or at the time AIDS, it didn't have to raise money for that very thing, right? I take that with me like today. So this is a super special song and really important, I think, for not just Black music history, but music history overall. I mean, it was a reported, $3 million that it raised. That was a lot of money in 1985 and 86, y'all.
And that's the same year that We Are the World came out.
We Are the World, I think, was 84. I think this came right after that. So yeah, I think We Are the World is 84. I'm going to look that up. But yeah, so this was also the era of, baby, pop stars was pop stars back then. You had like Live Aid, where it was just like everybody was raising money. What else?
Band-Aid.
Yep.
Yeah, Band-Aid. All the different fundraisers for activism. And so, Stephen, what song that came out of the movement sticks out to you the most?
I would have to give it to Wu-Tang Clan, America. It's off the America's Dying Slowly album that came out in 96 from Red Hot. Also features Killer Priest, who's also so tight with Wu-Tang. He's like another member of the Wu-Tang.
Yeah, it's weird that he's not an official. I'm like, yes, he's a member.
Yeah, I mean, he was there for the recording of Mystery of the Chess Boxing, but I think the story goes that he fell asleep or something, and Master Killer was working on his verse with Jizza, and Master Killer got on the verse first, and so, but yeah, I would say America is the song for me. I'm a big Wu-Tang Clan fan. I even have a tattoo of a Wu-Tang ice cream truck on my left arm. Love Wu. And Wu-Tang to me have always been my superheroes, especially my childhood superheroes. And for them to contribute to this album and with this song, it's like a good song that stands by itself while also having a message. And I feel like every member who contributed a verse approaches HIV in a different vantage point, a different angle. And I think that all throughout the years since I was 10 or 11 when I first heard the song, I resonate with every verse in some sort of way. And even parts that might be kind of cringeworthy, you recognize come from a particular time when you were penning that verse in 95, 96, that was the school of thought. That was the framework that people were operating from. So I would always say that. And I believe when it comes to Red Hot's America's Dying Slowly album, most of the Red Hot albums were always Red Hot plus or Red Hot and something. The alternative was their album called No Alternatives. I think that came out in 94. Then that was like grunge and alternative music. But then when it came to their second attempt at hip hop, because their Stolen Moments was their first and it was hip hop and jazz. But their second attempt was America's Dying Slowly, which didn't have the Red Hot and title, but America's Dying Slowly. And I believe it was Master Killer from the Wu-Tang, or Jamil Arif as he's known today, who came up with AIDS stands for America is Dying Slowly.
Wow.
Mm.
That's amazing.
And so for them to contribute
history.
the song as well as the acronym, so
That's dope.
That's heavy.
Yeah.
It-
And Sir Daniel, just so you know, you're absolutely correct. 1985, USA for Africa, We Are the World.
So just thinking along the lines of hip hop and being a part of this activism moment. So I pride myself on saying that I'm the female rap historian around here. And I thinking about the contributions from female rappers with regards to the movement. Of course, the song that stands out to me is Nana Cherry's "I Got You Under My Skin." Prior to that, like your MC Lights. I remember watching Video Music Box in New York. Video Music Box, they would have PSAs by like your Lights, your Latifahs, and they would do PSAs around, the growing HIV crisis, and they would speak out. But I don't recall prior to that an actual song being made that specifically addressed it. And in her first couple bars, she calls it out. She says, an immune deficiency called AIDS. And that was the first time I ever heard that in rap form from a female, a women rapper. And then seeing the video was another layer for me, because I remember there was a discussion on MTV about the actual making of the video and what the video stands for. And Jaimin Hansu is the shadowy figure wearing the bodysuit, right? And what they said was he represented the virus, and that there's a picture of a throbbing speaker in the background, and that represents the heart. And so it brought it home in a very scary way for me at that age, because I was like maybe 14 going on 15. And it brought it home for me about the seriousness of the virus, and how something that sounds really dope and sinister brought home the message for me. And about she even uses a line that sounds very much like Melly Mel in The Message, about a father saying about his child, that ain't mine. And I think it was kind of like a subliminal about gay people, about queer people suffering the most from this disease, especially in the Black community. And she addresses it, but kind of in a subliminal way, not saying it out front, but still, you pick up on those things, when you're in the community and you figure, oh, she's talking about us. And so that song, I included it in the set last night. It still knocks.
It does.
It knocks. It's a knocker. And Nana Cherry, I don't think we give Nana Cherry enough props for her flow. Her flow, like she's known most for the singing and whatnot, but sis was spitting out there too at the same time. So that's the song that sticks out to me regarding the movement. And let's talk. And we brought up songs from the Red Hot compilation. And didn't you, Steven, there's a series that you discussed in regards to In the Body, regarding the Red Hot compilations.
Yes. So back in 2019, my editor at The Body, Kenyon Farrow, shouts to Kenyon, hit me up and was like, hey, why don't you write 2,000 words about Red Hot? And then I gave him an update. I just texted him. I was like, I got 14,000 words at this point.
So I think it resonated with you. Huh?
Right.
So I was able to get in contact with the co-founder, John Carlin. And then I was able to get in contact with the other co-founder, Lee Blake. And they sent emails to people that they knew and kind of helped me move forward in interviewing a bunch of people. And this is pre-COVID. So people were like on tour, but I had a lot of people who sat down with me. I even had to wake up at 4:00 in the morning to interview Femi Kuti.
Wow.
And I was like this close to interviewing Tony Allen before he passed. But just asking a lot of people questions. And so there's a 7-8 part series in thebody.com about the history of Red Hot, where we're talking about the making of Red Hot albums throughout the years and just the genesis of starting the production company and where they are now in the streaming age, but also thinking about the impact of them raising money. Red Hot is the first, and this is what it was like a story. I interviewed Peter Staley, and he kind of backed this up, that Red Hot was the first to cut a check to Act Up.
Wow.
And so, so before, because they didn't have like 501c3 status or anything like that. And so a lot of places that had money were like, we don't want to give this money away. But Red Hot said, we are seeing you all do this Act Up, the demonstrations and the protests and the resistance on our way to work. You're in our communities, you're in our neighborhoods. So when we get this money, we're going to get this money and distribute it to them. And so Act Up chapters all throughout the world were able to benefit from people buying those Red Hot albums. And so you get to see that power of music, that power of pop culture, and get to see what they did. And so it's not just my story of listening to this album in 1996. It's like, wait, you started in 1990 and you had an attempt, you did jazz and hip hop. It was okay, but with Eazy-E's passing, now more of the so-called tough guy, keep it real, 1994, 95 MCs wanted to be a part of America's Dying Slowly. And then you just take it to the next level.
Thank you so much for that incredible work that you did around this series. And we'll make sure that for folks that sign up for the newsletter, we'll make sure that not only that is there, but there's the Vice article as well. We'll make sure that that too is there. Definitely, I echo you, Sir Daniel, with I've got you under my skin being so. That drew me in. I wrote about that actually in the article today. But I remember a specific moment
that we're going to talk about who got it wrong.
No, we are going to talk about that. But I remember a specific moment where that Red Hot thing was like, yo, this is next level. It was George Michael's Too Funky. When Too Funky dropped, and it was like, oh, that's on the next Red Hot joint. I said, oh, that's what we're doing? We're dropping a complete banger to raise money for HIV. It changed my whole perception about what was possible.
Can I say something about George Michael? Growing up, I wasn't the hugest George Michael fan. I gave him props. But when I was doing the story on Red Hot, they told me the history of George Michael's inclusion in the Red Hot legacy. It is when he was beefing, I believe, with Sony, with his record label. They came out with the Red Hot and Blue album, and they thought that was going to be it. Then George Michael contacts Red Hot and says, I got 3 songs for you. And
I got some joy.
And it was like, I'm going to give you Too Funky. And just to think about, you have a banger and you're saying, I'm not going to save it. I'm going to give it because they are doing something. And then that music video with all the supermodels and Too Funky is amazing. Shout out to George Michael. Rest in peace. Props forever.
Absolutely. And that was such a remarkable time when I think about that period between like 90 and 97 around there. There was a remarkable time of musicians stepping up with regards to their activism in, with respect to HIV and AIDS. I remember the Life Beat. MTV would dedicate airtime to the Life Beat parties. And I'd never forget, remember the Bad Boy takeover of Life Beat?
Oh, do I remember? I don't remember that.
There was
I gotta look it up.
If I'm not mistaken, I want to say or that might be the show. I want to say there was a performance of Mary J. Blige singing Every Day It Rains.
Oh, I'm going to look that up.
During a Live Beat performance. I know Salt and Pepper performed. There was plenty of hip hop presence during those Live Beat performances. And, we love to give props to people that get it right. But, we got to talk about the folks that got it wrong. Ooh. Or they meant well. They meant well. and I told J. Ray, I was like, I was contemplating adding this to the mix because it was so hip hop heavy. And I said, Conscious was telling me, I don't know. And I mentioned it to J Ray. And J Ray was like, oh, I know that song. And absolutely not. That song is not going on there.
I have the 12-inch of that song because I was actually going to do a black music mixtape. We're talking about the song HIV Positive by Choice. It was on Rap A Lot. Was this like 94?
I want to say earlier than that.
Might have.
So Choice is an MC, a female MC out of Houston, Texas. I first heard of got wind of her when she dropped the Payback, and she took on Eazy-E. It was like this really reckless diss record. She dissed the Ghetto Boys, Eazy-E, Ice Cube, everybody was catching it. It was, and so she made a little noise with that. And then I just remembered she didn't have a video for that, but I think one of the premiere videos of that album was the HIV Positive song. And I think I know that there was some bringing awareness to the struggle that she was trying to do, but there was it felt gossipy.
Mm-hmm.
It felt there was still judgment. It felt like judgment in some of the lyrics, especially talking about seeing her homegirl's boyfriend coming out the AIDS clinic.
Oh,
and 2 weeks is that he came out the AIDS clinic. It was just very
it's bad.
the voice behind it. At that time, we gotta give some grace and space. Like Steven said earlier, a lot of people then, they didn't have the language, they didn't have the empathy, they were trying to display it, but they didn't necessarily, like I said, had the language for it. And I guess maybe because she was kind of green and her delivery was so raw, it just didn't. It was very cringy. It's a cringy record. And yeah, like J Ray said, it's one of those things where people, kind of forget about it because it was just that cringy. Like, we don't want to go ahead and acknowledge this record, but we're acknowledging it here on Q Points because, we talk about the good and we talk about the bad over here.
We talk about the good and the bad. That joint right there is bad. And to that point, I think what's interesting about that song is actually Ice Cube's Look Who's Burning has the same setup, essentially. I talk about Death Certificate a lot on this show. I'm sorry. If I ever meet Ice Cube and he's ever heard Q Points, he's going to be like, oh my God. And I'm going to be like, you earned it, bruh. I'm sorry. Like, I know it was brilliant and terrible at the same time. So, Look Who's Burning gets it wrong. It's on Death Certificate. The misogyny, so there's the clinic, there's the woman who, which is like every other song about women on that record, the woman is going to the clinic for STIs, but there's a whole HIV thing towards the end. I think she dies. It's a lot going on in this song. And actually it's a really long song. It's a lot. So she's talking about big butts, sticking. It's a lot. Look Who's Burning is exactly what it describes, but it gets it wrong, man. I'm sorry, Ice Cube.
I just remember that, like you said, there was it was like a judgment in each and every song that featured or talked about HIV AIDS. Mm-hmm. Everybody dies.
Yeah, that's what happened.
Movies, certain people made movies that were characters had HIV, and as a punishment, they developed HIV and they died. And I think that's kind of what lends to the narrative that a lot of people have around HIV AIDS and the discussion of HIV AIDS, and people being scared to come forward with their status or whatever. as a community, if we're looking at these movies and listening to these songs, and it's a judgment to have the virus, it makes life harder. It makes just your existence 10 times harder, knowing that the art reflected in your community is debasing you at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think Grace in Space. I do Grace in Space, and the reason why I say that is because I think it is incumbent upon each of us to learn what's new, right? Learn the science as it exists today. Because things change. The HIV of 1991 is not the HIV of 2022 in terms of treatment and what we know about HIV today. So, yes, Mark, I'm still upset about Janet's character and for Colored Girls too. Tyler is notorious for adding something like this into a storyline.
I wasn't putting his name out there, but hey, since you brought him up,
you get it wrong, bruh. Love you.
Everybody dies.
You get it wrong. Dies. So I do think in the giving people grace part of me is like, okay, yes, but I also am like, as a community or as individuals, we have to understand HIV, especially as Black folks, all Black folks. Like, we just need to understand it. So yeah, these are definitely songs that got it wrong.
But my ladies get it right too.
Often
listen,
they do.
The female rap historian is going to wave the flag for Salt and Pepper because Salt and Pepper got it right.
They did get it right.
Let's talk about sex, and then co-opting it for the which was again, we've discussed this on the show. That was a major moment in television history where that became a television moment where let's talking about AIDS. Who was the newscaster? Can't remember his name. It was
Peter Brokaw? Jennings.
Peter Jennings.
Yep.
And included Salt and Pepper because his children listened to Salt and Pepper and they liked the song Let's Talk About Sex. So Salt and Pepper co-opted the song for the special, wrote new lyrics and everything for it, and the rest is history. Like, and they were the lyrics were responsible, thought-provoking, and at the same time people danced their asses off to that particular song. I remember that song was on heavy rotation in MTV, Club MTV, like crazy. And, they really was able to do take the edutainment aspect of hip hop to another level with Let's Talk About Sex, and then of course Let's Talk About AIDS.
Yeah, I love. Excuse me. Even today, that song, that video, that whole thing holds up. As an important moment of the time. You know what I'm saying? I haven't listened to see what some of the things that they're saying are. I'll probably listen and be like, oh, that's different now. But as I watched the video recently, the beginning, I was like, oh, I love the way they set this whole thing up. So yeah, I'm really proud, and they should be really proud of having created Let's Talk About AIDS specifically, and taking that song and doing something that didn't feel corny. That's the other thing. Like, it didn't feel corny. It felt informative. Now, Stephen, so I'm assuming you've probably seen it by now. But do you remember kind of that moment or hearing about that moment in time with the Salt and Pepper and Let's Talk About AIDS moment?
Yes. And I do remember it's like that early, I had those memories that come, but like, I know it wasn't in real time. It was still early, but it wasn't in real time. And I think that song was very influential, And I think that I give props to my big cousins. I call them my big cousins, my older cousins. So like Keisha and Tammy and my babysitter, Miss Katrina, they were all big Salt and Pepper fans.
Mm-hmm.
And, they're watching me for a couple hours when my parents are, out and about running errands. And they were the ones who schooled me to Salt and Pepper. Let's talk about sex. Or later on, like when TLC first came on the scene.
Mm-hmm.
And so you had that, like, we call it the black girl magic of that early 90s period, and everyone's wearing like door knockers and all this other stuff. But they were the ones who like really influenced, they really put the battery in my back when it came to this information.
To that point, one of the questions I asked at the end of the piece I wrote today is like, who are the future HIV activists? So if I'm a 14, 15-year-old today, I'm like, who do I get to look to? Like, who's doing this song? Who's running around with condoms on their jeans? You know,
on their
eye patch.
glasses.
You know, it's on a patch, right? Just thinking about why it's so important that we still need people talking about social issues as a very real thing. Me and Sir Daniel talked about the Saucy Santana Trina vote video. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. No voting, no vucking, and how important it is like to have more artists lean in to that. And I think that's true from an HIV standpoint, because TLC was another group that was really important in that moment. So to your point, Sir Daniel, a lot of the women got it right, including the queen herself, who's having a great moment. This last couple of years, Janet Jackson has just been winning the world, and Together Again was another song that raised money for AMFAR. Janet, Renee, and Jimmy and Terry wrote that song for friends of Janet who had passed away from HIV-related complications. And that song taught me that I could dance too. Like I can have a message and I can dance. And I just told Sir Daniel this, Stephen. I had not seen, and there's an official video for the slow version of Together Again. There's a whole remix of the song that's like a slow version. Janet re-sings the whole thing, and they did a music video for it, and I had never seen it. It's on YouTube. They put it up a couple of months ago, and that was fascinating. But yeah,
I love the DJ Premier remix of that. The DJ Premier remix that's fire, definitely fire.
Primo is my favorite, so always gotta give props to Primo.
We got to do a Primo show in 2023.
We're gonna have to do it. We're gonna have to do a Primo show, because for him, you would never think that there would be a remix to Together, a Janet Jackson remix by DJ Premier, but he's done several remixes for her, and they all slap. So yeah, we definitely gonna have to talk about that.
Man, oh man. So for y'all in the chat, first of all, y'all have been popping in the chat. Shout out to Raphael, White Label American. If y'all are not listening to White Label American, make sure that y'all check out Raphael's podcast. Shout out to Mark. And thank y'all so much. Oh, I saw Al. What's up, Al? Out of Detroit. Al Cunningham was hanging out with us. So thank you all so much for being here. So before we head out, two things. What songs do y'all love? Drop them in the chat that are from the HIV movement. We want to hear. They may end up, we have a playlist that if you join the mailing list, you could get access to that playlist. Boom, your song might end up in there. But what songs are you into? And Stephen, for you, where can folks keep in touch? I know that we got your Twitter there. Where else can folks keep in touch with you?
So Twitter, Facebook, it's, I am Stephen Hicks. You might see a photo of the guys from Clockers as the profile picture. What they call Rodney's children, Rodney's kids. And then I'm on Twitter, Stephen Hicks, and then Instagram, King of the Dance Floor.
How'd you get that name? Can we talk about that name?
Yeah, sure. In college, not let's say college, I used to get in a lot of dance battles. Um, and I roll with a crew of guys. You would think like, oh, they're not dancers, and then I just come out the blue and I'm like, bring it on, sucker. Do some James Brown splits on them. So yeah, king of the dance floor. But I've been winning dance battles since the Boys and Girls Club. So check my history.
Hey, Stephen Hicks said, "Do not test his gangster on the dance floor." Now, was this the You Got Served era where you like doing a lot of popping and a lot of crumping, or?
I could do that, but it was like some pop and lock type of stuff. I had some folks from up top who would come down. They'd be like, "Y'all country bumpkins in Virginia can't do this or do that." And then I had my uncle who used to break back in the 80s. He showed me some moves, and I was like, if you see me, especially at that point, you'd be like, he's a little too big to move around like this. This is what my uncle told me. He's like a little too big to be moving like this. But I was like, all right, I'm going to show you. He went off to work that night for the night shift. He came back the next morning when he's eating breakfast. And I show him. He was like, okay, I got to show you more. I was like, I'm telling you. I am, at the time I was probably prince of the dance floor, but now I'm king. So just crown me.
All right, there you go. Listen, I have really enjoyed all our conversations around these songs that taught us many things from this era. And some people got it right, some people got it wrong. And J. Ray and I want to start this new segment called Cringy and Crankworthy, right? Where we want to find out from people what are their favorite songs that are so terrible. Like maybe the lyrics, there's something about the song itself that's a little cringy, and it makes you kind of, I can't believe I'm listening to this. But that beat will make you become the king of the dance floor. So we wanted our tonight's guest, Stephen Hicks, to bless us with his selections for cringy and crankworthy, so we can get this started. And then if you have a cringy or crankworthy song out there that you want us to know about, of course we will let you know in just a second how you can send that to us so we can bring it up on the next episode. But Stephen, you have the floor. What is your cringy and crankworthy song?
My cringy and crankworthy nomination for the evening is "Stay Away from the Nasty Hoes." It's the X, Fat Joe, and produced by Diamond D. All MCs and artists that I love, truly. Brand Nubian, Digging in the Crates. I love them. But this song, I think like Sadat is hitting you with some like, okay, seamless. And then Fat Joe, at the tail end of Fat Joe's verse, you're just like, but at the same time, it's a great song. It's a banger. I think Diamond D produced it because he gets credit, but you don't hear his voice. I believe he produced it. But I was just playing it tonight. And I got to say, I am a huge DICC fan, a huge Brand Nubian fan, and I would play that. Would I play that in mixed company? Probably not. But I will also say they made that song in a sense of urgency, in crisis mode, and they made a banger. And 20-something years later, we can be like, we can dissect what was wrong, whatever. But I could do the same thing with, Sally Got a One-Track Mind or Gangsta Bitch or whatever. They're still bangers, and those are still songs we love to this day, and we love the artists who made those songs. So shouts to Diamond D, shouts to Fat Joe, shouts to Lord Jamal. Lord Jamal and Sadat X. Shouts to Sadat X. Whole Brand Nubian.
Love it.
Yo, that is hilarious. So to send us your cringy and crankworthy, and to hear and to listen to that song, definitely join the newsletter. That's where we will be dropping those pieces, and we will have a link so that you can submit yours to us. We want to hear from you. I can't imagine what folks are going to say, but this will be exciting. We want to hear from all of y'all. So a couple of things. So make sure that you subscribe to Q Points. You can follow us on Apple Podcasts. We're going to put the link here in the chat. You can follow us on Spotify. And if you are watching on YouTube, awesome. Make sure that you go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Go ahead and hit the bell notification so you know when we release new episodes. And make sure that you leave us a rating on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. You can also leave us a rating on Podchaser. It really helps for people to spread the word about the show. Mark, look out for this email. We can't wait to hear what this is. Mark apparently has something that's going to be real good. We want to hear it. So, this has been amazing. So thank you so much, Stephen, for being here.
Thank you all.
It's been a pleasure to have you, sir. No, thank you. And listen, ladies and gentlemen, what do I always say? In this life, you have a choice. You can either pick up the needle or you can let the record play. I'm DJ Sir Daniel.
My name is Jay Ray. Who you?
That gentleman in the middle is Stephen Hicks. And this has been Q Points. Absolutely. Absolutely. Listen, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you on the next go round. Peace.
Peace.